very good evening and a warm welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Heshain Ali and let's have a look at the headlines first. Presenting the maiden budget of the SLPP regime, government makes plans to keep the growth rate at 5.5% in 2021. Prime Minister wants individuals who have hidden money locally or internationally to utilize those for the benefit of the country. News in detail. The maiden budget of the new government was tabled in Parliament today by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa under the capacity of Finance Minister. It is the 75th budget report of the country, the Department of Communication of Parliament said. The second reading of the Appropriation Bill for 2021 sought the allocation of 2,678 billion rupees for the service expenditure and, according to the bill, limit on borrowings for the financial year 2021 has been set at 2,900 billion rupees. The second reading debate of the budget will be held from tomorrow to the 21st of November. The vote on the second reading will take place on November 21st at 5 p.m. The debate of the committee stage will commence on the 23rd of November and is scheduled to conclude on 10th of December. Accordingly, the vote will be held at 5 p.m. on the 10th of December.
රජයේ ආදායම හා වියදම අතර ඇති 9% පමණ පරතරය 4 මට්ටමකට වාර්ෂිකව අඩු කර ගැනීම අපගේ රාජ්‍ය මූල්‍ය කළමනාකරණයේ අරමුණ අතර ප්‍රධාන සම්දිස්ථානයක්. ජාතික ආදායමෙන් 90ක් වන රාජ්‍ය ණය 70කට අඩු කර ගැනීමත් විදේශ ණය සංයුක්තය තුළ වී ඇති අවදානම් අඩු කර ගැනීමත් එම සම්දිස්ථානයට ළඟා වීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. බැංකු මුල්‍ය හා රක්ෂණ ක්ෂේත්‍ර හැර භාණ්ඩ ආනයන හා නිෂ්පාදනය හා සේවා සැපයීම සඳහා ව්‍යාපාර පිරිවැටුම මසකට රුපියල් මිලියන 25කට වැඩි ව්‍යාපාරවලට අදාළ 8%කට වැට් බද්ද නොවෙනස්ව පවත්වාගෙන යාමට යෝජනා කරනවා. දැනට විවිධ ආයතන හා නීතිමය විධිවිධාන යටතේ ක්‍රියාත්මක වන මත්පැන් සිගරට් දුරස් කතන සේවා සූදු ගේමින් මෝටර රථ වැනි මුළු බදු ආදායමෙන් 50%කට වැඩි බදු ආදායම දායකත්වයක් දෙන භාණ්ඩ හා සේවා බදු වඩා කාර්යක්ෂම ලෙස කළමනාකරණය කිරීම සඳහා එක බදු ක්‍රමයක් ඔන්ලයින් තාක්ෂණය ඔස්සේ කළමනාකරණය කිරීමට සඳහා විශේෂ භාණ්ඩ හා සේවා බද්දක් ස්පෙෂල් ගුඩ්ස් ඇන්ඩ් සර්විසස් ටැක්ස් හඳුන්වා දීමට යෝජනා කරනවා. බදු ව්‍යාචනා කඩ්ඩමි විසඳුම් සඳහා විශේෂ බදු ව්‍යාචනා උසාවියක් ඇති කිරීමටද යෝජනා කරනවා. ඉදිරි වසර 5 තුළ කෘෂිකර්ම සත්ව ආදීවර කටයුතු වලින් ලැබෙන ආදායම් බදු වලින් නිදහස් කර තිබෙනවා. සමෘද්ධි බැංකුව විසින් සෑම සමෘද්ධි ලාභියෙකු සඳහාම සමෘද්ධි ජීවිත ඉතිරි කිරීම සමෘද්ධි ලයිෆ් සේවිංග්ස් account ගිණුම් විවෘත කිරීමටත් සමෘද්ධි ජීවන ආධාරයේම ගිණුම් වලට තැන්පත් කිරීමටත් යෝජනා කරනවා. දේශීය සමාගම් කොළඹ කොටස් වෙළඳපොලේ ලයිස්තුගත කිරීම දිරිගැන්වීම සඳහා 2021 වෙනි දිනට පෙර ලයිස්තුගත කරනු ලබන සමාගම් වලට 50% ආදායම් බදු සහනය ලබා දීමටත් ඉන්පසු වසර 3ක් සඳහා අදාළ සමාගම් බද්ධ 14% ලෙස පවත්වා ගැනීමටත් යෝජනා කරනවා. කොළඹ හා හම්බන්තොට වරායන් කේන්ද්‍ර කොටගෙන ජාත්‍යන්තර වෙළඳාම් භාණ්ඩ තොග හුවමාරු මධ්‍යස්ථාන commodity trading hub වශයෙන් බන්ධිත ගුදාම් bonded warehouses පාසුකම් සඳහා ආයෝජන දිරිගැන්වීමට එවැනි අක්වෙරළ offshore ව්‍යාපාර හා ගුදාම් පාසුකම් සඳහා කුලී බදු සහන දීමට යෝජනා කරනවා. මහජන ආරක්ෂාවට හඳුන්වාගත් විවිධ වැඩසටහන් සඳහා රුපියල් මිලියන 2500ක අතිරේක ප්‍රතිපාදන ලබා දීමට යෝජනා කරනවා. සේවක සංඛ්‍යාව 50 ඉක්මවන ව්‍යාපාර කර්මාන්ත ශාලා ඉලක්ක කරගෙන එවන් ව්‍යාපාරික ආයතනවල පිළිවැටුමෙන් 0.2.5 රක්ෂණ දායක මුදලක් අය කිරීමටද යෝජනා කරනවා. සේවක සංඛ්‍යාව 5ක් ඉක්මවන සිල්ලර රහත්තුග වෙනසල් මෙම හොටල් සඳහාද මෙම රක්ෂණ ක්‍රමය යොදා ගැනීමට අපේක්ෂා කරනවා. එමෙන්ම දේශීය විදේශීය පුද්ගලික ආයෝජකින් සඳහා නවීන ආයෝජන කලාපයක් උපාය මාර්ගීය ආයෝජන පනත යටතේ ආරම්භ කිරීමට යෝජනා කරනවා. විශේෂ නිපුණතා තුලින් ව්‍යාපාර ආරම්භ කිරීම සඳහා ආරම්භක ව්‍යාපාර අනුමුදලක් ස්ටාර්ට්අප් කැපිටල් වශයෙන් රුපියල් ලක්ෂ 5ක ණය මුදලක් 4%ක වාර්ෂික පොලියෙන් සහිත යටතේ ලබා දීමට යෝජනා කරනවා. 2025 වන විට ඩොලර් මිලියන 1000ක ක්‍රීඩා ආර්ථිකය නිර්මාණය කිරීම 21 24 මැදි කාලීන ආයෝජනයක් ආරම්භ කර ප්‍රාග්ධනයක් ලෙස රුපියල් මිලියන 2000ක අතිරේක ප්‍රතිපාදන වෙන් කිරීමට යෝජනා කරනවා.
The budget benefits further assured that a daily wage of a plantation sector employee will also be increased to 1,000 rupees with effect from January next year. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa also warned that any management which does not comply with the ruling will have to hand over the management to a party which can take the challenge. Sri Lanka will change the privatisation agreements of plantations companies that do not raise salaries to 1,000 rupees a day. Presenting the budget for 2021, the Finance Minister added that the government will review the privatisation agreements. Rajapaksa said privatisation agreements of companies that do not raise salaries by January will be changed and given to others who can do it on a more commercial basis. Moreover, the government decides to extend the concessions and recovery of loans granted for the tourism sector under the refinancing facilities of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka until September 30th in next year. It is decided that Lakwaja and Kerawalapitiya power plants should be strengthened in order to guarantee interruption-free power supply through year 2021 to 2022. One coal power plant of 300 megawatt and 2 LNG plants will be added to the national power grid, and Kerawalapitiya will be transformed to a LNG plant. Also, it was decided to reduce import tax on motor vehicles, spare parts and cess tax to be levied to secure local industries. Moreover, during the budget decision, it was further added that retirement age of private sector employees will be 60 years. The Urban Development Authority has already commenced construction of fully fledged housing complexes amounting to 50,000 houses for low and middle level income earners, and the government proposes to implement a loan scheme with an annual interest of 6.25% with a payback period of 25 years to facilitate the acquisition of these houses. Also, the government plans to reduce the maximum interest charged on housing and property loans of public servants granted by banks under housing loans and advances up to a maximum of 7%. Business activity in the Colombo Port City Special Economic Zone to commence in 2021, and a new legal framework to monitor these business activities to be tabled in January. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa revealed that the gap between the government revenue and expenditure is estimated to be 1,564 billion rupees. Accordingly, the estimated government revenue for 2021 is 1,961 billion rupees, and the total government expenditure is 3,525 billion rupees.
2021 සඳහා ඇස්මින්තුගත රජයේ ආදායම රුපියල් බිලියන 1961ක් වෙනවා. රජයේ මුළු වියදම බිලියන 3525ක් වන බැවින් ආදායම වියදම් පරතරය බිලියන රුපියල් බිලියන 1564ක් වෙනවා.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, said that they plan to maintain the budget gap at 9% of the GDP, since the private investments, which amounted to 32.3% of the GDP in 2014, has decreased up to 27.6% in 2019. He also stressed that economic growth of the country has badly stagnated and it requires a robust start by the government. Rajapaksa also said that the budget 2021 is a development budget presented to elevate the economy, which was shattered. He also said that it covered all sectors under a macroeconomic vision aimed at fulfilling the vistas of prosperity and splendor. He further said that the budget 2021 will open up numerous special investment opportunities to our business community for production of local goods and services under the competitive setting of the global economy. The Prime Minister also requested from all entrepreneurs to utilize the funds hidden locally or internationally in order to evade laws relating to taxes and foreign exchange. He assured that the government has plans to make legal provisions to provide a tax pardon to entrepreneurs, thus utilizing funds for any investment facilitated by this budget under the payment of taxes amounting to 1%. Stay tuned for more news right after this commercial break. Welcome Welcome back after the break. Cabinet spokesman Minister Keheliya Rabukwala says that the opposition is in a futile effort to make a notion among public that the present government is not successful. Briefing the media via online about the decisions taken by the cabinet of ministers, Minister Rabukwala said that the government has kept its promises so far and will be continuing its effort tirelessly. As questioned by journalist, Minister Keheliya Rabukwala said that the general public has a strong confidence on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the SLPP government. Minister added that the opposition has no slogans against the government as the government is purely people-centric and since it had not taken wrong decisions on general public. He also added that they just say the term "sir fail" when they have failed to prove it with facts. Meanwhile, state-owned public company Mante Salt Limited will be renamed as National Salt Company and its ownership, administration and operation of the Elephant Pass Salt Factory in the northern province will be accordingly transferred to the National Salt Company. Cabinet approval has also been granted to provide guaranteed prices for 16 crops and to provide seeds with the intervention of the government to encourage local farmers. The list of the crops includes chili, big onion, red onion, potato and some other crops which are currently restricted to imports. The cabinet has further decided to implement the voluntary retirement scheme due to the financial crisis that has been faced by the Sri Lankan Airlines Limited, and a 3-member committee headed by the Secretary to the State Ministry of Aviation and Export Zones Development has already been appointed to study the aforesaid matter. The government will also go ahead with a plan to introduce laws to resolve employee disputes in the state sector, which will be similar to those currently used by the private sector. Co-cabinet spokesman Mr. Dr. Ramesh Patrana told reporters that the decision is taken since it was apparent that there were instances in which achieving national development goals become difficult due to protest campaigns, picketing and strikes carried out by some government employees. Central Bank announced yesterday that it has raised $62 million through Sri Lanka development bonds on top of $24.8 million through the most recent Sri Lanka development bonds auction held last week. The statement issued by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka states that the most recent Sri Lanka development bonds auction held from 10th to 13th of this month with settlement on tomorrow enabled to raise $24.82 million. At the said auction, maturities offered varied from 1 year to 2 months to 4 years to 2 months and offered at a fixed rate of 6.69% to 6.82%. Subsequent to the said auction, due to the renewed interest and investor appetite for Sri Lanka development bonds, further investment of $62 million was raised by close of business yesterday at the weighted average fixed rates determined for respective maturities on offer at the above auction, with settlement of such investments tomorrow. Accordingly, an aggregate amount of $86.82 million was raised in all 4 maturities in comparison with the total offered amount of $75 million. For the first time in the history of the Sri Lanka Air Force, 2 female Sri Lanka Air Force officers were commissioned as pilots yesterday at the Commissioning and Wings Parade at the Sri Lanka Air Force Academy in China Bay. The Commissioning and Wings Parade of the 61st intake of Officer Cadets, 13th Lady Officer Cadets intake, the 33rd and 34th Kotalawala Defence University intakes was held at the Sri Lanka Air Force Academy in China Bay yesterday. Secretary to the Ministry of Defence Major General Kamal Gunaratne was the chief guest at this occasion. The highlight of the agenda was the commissioning of the 53 officer cadets as the commissioned officers of the Sri Lanka Air Force, which included 2 lady officers being commissioned as pilots of the General Duties Pilot Branch for the first time in the history of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
Pilot Officer ADPL Gunaratne, Pilot Officer RT Veerawardena.
Yesterday's event also marked the first time in the Sri Lanka Air Force history that a female officer named Pilot Officer RT Veerawardena commanded a parade with the President's colour. At the awarding of flying brevets and trophies from Special Achievements, Veerwardena, along with the pilot officer ADPL Gunaratna, became the first female officers to be awarded the prestigious flying brevet and be the pioneering female military aviators of Sri Lanka. Pilot Officer R.T. Veerwardena created history yet again when she was awarded the prestigious Sword of Honor, which is awarded to the officer cadet who has scored the highest results in both academic and professional studies and who has shown the best all-round performance throughout the course.
For the Air Force and for the entire country, as we mark the commissioning of 2 lady pilots for the first time in the history of Sri Lanka, Lankan defense, and denoting a great pride for the women in the Sri Lanka history. Finally, let me congratulate the newly commissioned officers on your achievements and for reaching this most important milestone of your lives, and encourage you to wear your commission with pride.
Stay tuned for the stock updates. Welcome back after the break. The trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all share price index gained 32.01 points to close at 6,108.93, and the S&P SL20 gained 9.02 points to close at 2,395.71. Turnover was 2.2 billion rupees and over 89 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. And with that, we'll be winding up for today. See you tomorrow at the usual time with State of Business. Until then, take care and good night.